What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. We've talked on the YouTube channel about Just Cause and this franchise moving forward. It hasn't been too long, guys, between, Just Cause 4 and what we're anticipating being Just Cause 5. It's only been a couple of years, but I know that the community as a whole is very excited about that potential continuation of this franchise, and me for one, I'm very excited as well, because I'm hoping that the Just Cause franchise kind of shifts in a number of ways from Just Cause 4 to Just Cause 5. Even though I thought 4 was pretty well done overall, I do really want there to be some kind of additions and things of that nature moving into the next game. No matter how good a game is, guys, there's always things that you can improve upon. So hopefully, we get some of those changes in Just Cause 5, which we'll get to here shortly. But I want to talk, guys, about, are we definitely going to see a Just Cause 5 at this point in time? Is it pretty much 100% going to happen? Obviously, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but we might be getting some hints from none other than Avalanche. So let's talk about it, guys. In an article written by Alexandra from Screen Rant, it's only been 2 years since Just Cause 4 released to the public, but there's good reason to believe a fifth Just Cause game is already underway. It's only been 2 years since Just Cause 4 was released, but fans of the franchise are already wondering when a fifth installment may come out. As it turns out, there are some very telling hints that suggest work on Just Cause 5 may already be underway, but given the years-long gap between Just Cause games, fans may have to wait a little while longer before any official news is revealed about the action-adventure title. So the original Just Cause debuted over a decade ago in 2006 and has sold over 1 million copies worldwide. Its sequel, Just Cause 2, came out 4 years later in 2010, and then 5 years after that, Just Cause 3 was released. Fans had a shorter wait for the next installment, which was Just Cause 4, which was released in December of 2018 for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. So what are we looking at? So obviously we got 2 years, guys, between, since Just Cause 4 came out. So it's been out a couple of years. And so when can we anticipate a potential continuation here? Well, if we're going based on the past, guys, we're usually, you're kind of looking at every number of years. So it could be anywhere between like 3 to probably 5 years you could expect to see a new Just Cause title. So since we haven't gotten any kind of official confirmation yet, I would say that we'll probably hear an announcement of Just Cause 5 next year, that being 2021. At some point, probably mid to late 2021, and I would say probably a year or two after that, depending on how far into development they are, then we'll probably be able to get our hands finally on the title. So probably 2022 or 2023. Like I said, it just depends on what all the game encompasses, which we'll talk about here shortly. And, was there any delay? Because of the current world situation, there's potential, a shift as far as when the timeline is for Just Cause 5, because so many other studios have had to, be working remotely, which kind of delays a lot of different things within the video game industry. So maybe Just Cause will suffer that same fate and we won't see the game for a number of years after that. But we'll kind of keep it, from what we've seen in the past to now. I would say, guys, a couple more years is probably what we're looking at. So considering it's only been 2 years since the latest Just Cause released, it's not unusual that there's been no word on if or when another installment in the franchise may happen, given how how big the gaps between games in the Just Cause franchise have been. Players may have to wait upwards of 2 to 3 more years to see a Just Cause 5 release date. Now, Avalanche Studios, they may have hinted, guys, that a Just Cause 5 is underway. So, granted, although nothing official has been released confirming that Just Cause 5 is underway, Avalanche Studios in New York has made it clear they're working on something big. Earlier this month, it was revealed that the branch, which was the division that worked on 2015's Just Cause 3, is is in the process of hiring new talent for what they described as the largest and greatest AAA we've ever taken on. Though it remains unclear what the title of the project is, there has been speculation that it could very well be the highly anticipated Just Cause 5. According to GameSpot, the various positions the studio is looking to fill include a system programmer, senior world designer, and gameplay animation programmer. Details from the listing confirm the secret project will be open world and also externally published like the Just Cause series. It also confirmed the graphics will be top notch, with one of the listings explaining on this project we want to push animation quality a lot further than we have done previously. So if you ask me, guys, I do believe that this is Just Cause 5 that they're working on. Now, what gets me excited is that they're talking this is the largest and greatest AAA that we've ever taken on. That's a direct quote from Avalanche Studios. So what that tells me, guys, is that it's probably Just Cause. Now, there's a good chance that it could be just a completely new IP altogether. I kind of doubt it because Just Cause has done well over the years for them. But this is where I am going to kind of bring up the things that I want to see changed in the Just Cause franchise. I think it's a great, story. I really enjoy the style that is Just Cause. But I am a firm believer, guys, and you guys know this, for those of you who've been watching my YouTube channel, that I believe in full packages when you're talking about AAA titles. So regardless of the size, regardless of all of those things, guys, I believe that a full package is really required to justify a $60 price tag if that's what they're planning on charging, which is what Just Cause, all the games up to this point, have charged that, standard across the industry, price tag. So a full package to me, guys, is a full, campaign, of course, which of course is what Just Cause is known for, having co-op and multiplayer modes, which is not what Just Cause has done up to this point in time. And so I want to see them take on multiplayer and take on co-op. And the reason being, guys, are adding those things to Just Cause 5 because it's going to bring more opportunity to do other things within this universe. After you're done playing the campaign, a lot of times if you, beat it a couple of times, you very well most likely are going to move on to other games. So if you have multiplayer and you have co-op modes, that's going to keep you ingrained in playing the game longer. And so to me, it makes total sense for Avalanche to do that. And when I hear them say that this is the largest and greatest AAA that we've ever taken on, that's giving me this thought that sure, maybe they're talking about just the open world experience and all the different things you can do within it, just from a campaign perspective. But that also kind of brings up the thought that maybe they're going to be adding more to this game than just a single player story. And so that's what I've been wanting from Just Cause for a long time, guys, is multiplayer modes and co-op modes and just things that after you're done playing the main story, you can do other things within this world, that are going to keep you and keep you playing the game for a period of time outside of, moving on to other games, which is usually what you do, like I said. So that's what I'm very excited about, is that this could be the biggest, title that they've worked on in a multitude of ways, whether we're talking from an open world scenario, from multiplayer, from co-op. You could really potentially get a full package here with Just Cause 5, which would be absolutely massive, in my opinion, for the franchise. This isn't the first time a job listing has hinted at the existence of Just Cause 5 either. Similarly, in March of 2019, Respawn first reported that Avalanche Studios New York revealed it was looking for a build engineer. The individual will be responsible for a large and complex code base for diverse platforms as well as enormous amounts of data. The efficiency of the processes involved in doing so can be the differentiating factor between a blockbuster success and a failure. So, very interesting, guys, to say the least. It may not be known what Avalanche Studios has up their sleeve, but they're clearly working on something big, given the strong demand for a new edition in the Just Cause series. It's very possible their secret project is Just Cause 5, but fans will have to sit tight and wait for more information. So, look, this is very exciting, though, to say the least, guys. The potential Just Cause 5, we could be getting it here shortly. As far as, an announcement, I do think it is going to I think this article was probably spot on when it says, 2 to 3 years until we actually get our hands on the game. And here's the thing. The other thing, what I was alluding to earlier, was it also comes down to what all this game encompasses. So, are we going to get multiplayer? Are we going to get co-op modes? Are there going to be end game content and things of that nature? That is certainly going to be something that's going to kind of push the timetable a little bit further out. If it's just the single player story, I believe, guys, that it will certainly come out sooner rather than later. But if you're also going to have multiplayer, you're going to have co-op modes, I think that could be something that we might, it might be a while longer till we actually get our hands on the game, because it's going to obviously take more time in order to make those. So I gotta say, I'm very, optimistic that we're going to get a full package here with Just Cause 5. I know some of you disagree with wanting the full package. You would rather just have, the single player story, because that's what's built Just Cause up to this point, and why fix something that's not broken. But I believe, guys, I'm a firm believer in the, video game industry and just entertainment as a whole. If you fail or, fail to evolve over time, regardless of how great your IP is, if you fail to evolve with time, your IP very well might die. And so that's why I believe that you got to consistently evolve. I mean, you even look like one of the biggest games in the world, guys, Call of Duty. They are consistently evolving that franchise when they really don't necessarily need to, because it's the biggest franchise in the world. But they consistently are adding things, whether you're talking Battle Royale from Call of Duty Warzone, which became one of the biggest BRs in the world at this point. They're consistently adding things that are trying to appeal to more people, to get people to stay on their game, play their game on a consistent basis. And I just want to see Just Cause, and Avalanche Studios do something like that, where you're bringing out things, not necessarily BR, but bringing things out that are going to get us to continue playing the game, and it continues building the fan base over time. But those are my thoughts, guys. Will we see a Just Cause 5 at the end of the day? I do believe so, absolutely. Whether or not this greatest AAA that they've ever worked on is Just Cause 5 or something else is yet to be seen. I do believe it is Just Cause 5, but let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think they're working on Just Cause 5? Do you think we're going to see this game at some point or another? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Just Cause 5 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Dead Rising is a title and a franchise that came out back in 2006, and I remember the hype that was built around the original Dead Rising. Just this game, guys, that was just a lot of fun to play by yourself, that you were able to just mow down zombies with lawnmowers and things of that nature, and it was very unique in a number of ways. And then we've seen over time, guys, other games that have come out within this kind of similar genre, like Dead Island and so on. The list, it goes on and on. But Dead Rising kind of started this goofy type of zombie thriller action, style video game. And I gotta say, guys, that we've had a number of Dead Rising games, but I think that over time there were just a number of issues that ended up arising throughout the course of the history of this game. And I want to talk about, the future here of Dead Rising. Dead Rising 5 in particular, a game that was confirmed to be happening and then got canceled. And, where is this game at this point in time, and when could we maybe potentially see this game or be able to play this game at some point or another? So let's talk about it, guys. According to the official Wikipedia page of the Dead Rising franchise, of course, Dead Rising, guys, going back, kind of just looking, we got to look at the past in order to kind of predict what might happen here in the future. So Dead Rising came out in 2006, as I said, guys. Dead Rising 2 came out in 2010. So a number of years later, and then Dead Rising 3 came out a few years after that in 2013, and Dead Rising 4 came out in 2016. So we have not seen another title in this franchise since 2016. So in an article written, guys, by J. Brody Shuri of Screen Rant, a new video goes into the troubled development of Dead Rising 5, revealing a number of issues that ultimately resulted in the game's cancellation. So a new video details the development cycle of Capcom's ill-fated Dead Rising 5, including some very deep-rooted problems that took hold behind the scenes, which sent the game to the grave just a few months after its announcement. The zombie-slaying, makeshift weapon crafting sandbox series had previously been a powerhouse franchise in its earlier years, spawning no less than 4 mainline games and even a tie-in film since it first burst onto the Xbox 360 back in 2006. So Now, this all changed when Capcom attempted a fifth Dead Rising game in 2018. Despite initial optimism regarding the new sequel, this planned Dead Rising 5 would eventually be canceled a few months later, causing longtime series developer Capcom Vancouver to shut down and effectively ending the franchise for the time being. Since then, fans have been wondering what the new game would have entailed, as well as what circumstances caused the project to go so wrong so quickly. So really quick, guys, just give you guys a little bit of some, backstory here as to me with Dead Rising. I played the first game. I enjoyed it for what it was. Kind of got old after a while, in my personal opinion, but I enjoyed and I appreciated what it was. Then moving to Dead Rising 2, I enjoyed that one as well, but once again, I just feel like it kind of failed to evolve in a number of ways. Sure, having new weapons, new ways to hack and slash the different zombies was pretty cool. It was very refreshing, but then once we got later in the series, into Dead Rising 3, Dead Rising 4, that's where things kind of, for me, it got just too stale, and it just didn't evolve enough in my personal opinion. Now, do I want to see another Dead Rising? Absolutely. I think Dead Rising, guys, should coexist with other games in kind of within this genre of games, because Dead Rising was kind of like one of the first to do it, and I really think that there still is a very solid fan base behind Dead Rising if it's done well. So Liam Robertson, Game History Secrets, has provided some insight into these previously unanswered questions in a recent video that was posted on the Did You Know Gaming YouTube channel. Robertson details the history of the Dead Rising franchise, including the chaotic development of the ultimately unreleased fifth installment. Apparently, Dead Rising 5 would have starred Dead Rising 2 lead Chuck Green and his now grown daughter Katie, who would have psychic abilities due to her continuing zombie infection, as they battle a drug cartel and another zombie apocalypse in a setting far more vibrant than past titles. So that sounds pretty great, more vibrant. However, at the helm, a completely inexperienced team was, and licensing issues arose over the game's planned use of Unreal Engine 4, which ultimately led Capcom to pull the plug on the game altogether. Even before the disastrous development cycle of Dead Rising 5, the series had already begun to enter rocky territory with the wildly divisive Dead Rising 4, which was rushed through production for a lackluster release in 2016. And I gotta say, guys, whether you liked Dead Rising 4 or not, I was not a fan whatsoever of Dead Rising 4. However, I know some of you did enjoy it. Critical reception was mixed, and many fans disliked the game's even goofier tone and the fact that several key components from past entries were stripped out, such as the tension-inducing time limits on the campaign that defined Dead Rising as a series. The finished product ultimately sold so poorly that 1/5 of Capcom Vancouver staff had to be laid off prior to the official announcement of Dead Rising 5, with the studio being shuttered shortly thereafter. What's interesting to me, though, is why Capcom even moved forward with Dead Rising 5 if they were already having to lay off people for Dead Rising 4. Very interesting. The one thing for me, guys, to me, I didn't like the even goofier tone. Sure, there were a lot of components, guys, that were missing from the other previous entries, like the first couple of games in the franchise, but I didn't really like the goofier tone. I thought that, there would be more of a seriousness as the series maybe progressed from, sure, it's good to have goofy elements to it, but I think if they would have taken the approach of having more of a, more serious tone at certain, throughout the course of the series, I think it would have been a lot better off. Now, this certainly wouldn't have helped the game's ultimately ill-fated development cycle, so it may be best that it simply never came to fruition. Perhaps Dead Rising 5 could have turned the series around due to its more colorful setting and interesting story, but the project was sadly not to be. And honestly, guys, I don't think that Dead Rising 5 would have turned the series around. Sure, it takes one game to take you into the dark ages of an IP, but then all it takes is one game to bring you right back to where you kind of left off into a really, good place. But I just don't think, guys, that it wasn't meant to be. Dead Rising 4 just did not do well. They were already laying people off. It was kind of dead on arrival. And so I think the Dead Rising, 5, if it does come out, it needs to be with a new publisher, a new development team. I think the IP should be sold because I think that there's a lot of developers or publishers out there that would certainly buy this IP from Capcom and would love to kind of breathe fresh life into this franchise. Now, one day it can be hoped that the Dead Rising franchise might be rebooted to new success. For now, though, all fans can do is check out the story of the troubled Dead Rising 5, a saga that has seemingly killed off Capcom's once well-regarded series with the blow that not even the undead could weather. So, look, at the end of the day, guys, I'm not going to say that there's no way that Dead Rising 5 could come out at some point. I do believe personally that the way that it's going to happen is if Capcom sells the IP or they decide to do some kind of remaster or something for the Xbox Series X and for the PlayStation. If they decide to do something where it's like a remaster of the games and see kind of what the general reception is from people about the remaster, and then they can maybe greenlight another, Dead Rising title. I just don't know if I can really see it happening at this point. I certainly want to, guys. I absolutely do. I just don't know. The fact of the matter is, though, is that Dead Rising was still on their minds even after, they shut down Capcom Vancouver. It was on their minds, and there's been rumblings and talk that they want to bring it back. Just how are they going to do it is kind of the ultimate question at this point. If you were to ask me, guys, the reason why what I'd like to see happen, I would like to see Dead Rising 5 to take a much more serious approach. I like the concepts, guys, and sure, the concepts of Dead Rising, what, built this game from the beginning, are kind of goofy in nature, running over zombies with, lawnmowers and such. Obviously, kind of a goofier setting and tone, but at the same time, I think that the story itself could be much more serious, where you become more invested in the characters and things of that nature. So, where's Dead Rising 5, guys? I believe that at this point in time, it is in a limbo state. It is in a state that could be of no return, but I do believe that a lot of times when a title goes into a limbo state, it really comes down to the community. It comes down to us as a community, voicing our opinion to the developers, stating that we want, another game in this franchise made. And if you have enough people that are doing that, a lot of times these developers will start to look at those things and at the very least could maybe put together a remaster pack or something that they release. And then we're able to play, all of those games, in a remastered, kind of way, and then they can kind of greenlight another Dead Rising 5. Or, if they decide not to, they might think that there is still obviously a solid fan base around Dead Rising. They may just want to sell the IP to the highest bidder and go from there. But at the end of the day, guys, I think that we are going to have to wait, and I'll be sure to give you guys more information as it comes out on the future of the Dead Rising franchise. Let me know, though, in the comment section down below, what do you think ultimately happened here to Dead Rising? Let me know, and for more Dead Rising 5 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. The Witcher is a franchise that is widely beloved by many people, has a massive fan base, guys, and as the series has progressed over time, it's become more and more accepted, and people absolutely just love this franchise. Well, in this segment of the show, I want to talk about, what is the future here for The Witcher? Could we see a fourth title in this franchise at some point or another in the future? And, obviously with CD Projekt Red and what they're currently working on at this point in time, what's the timetable? When could we maybe see a Witcher 4? So let's talk about it. In an article, guys, written by Jack Webb of Tech Radar, The Witcher 4 is definitely happening. Here's everything we know so far. Ever since The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt graced our PCs and consoles, fans have been wondering if there would be another Witcher game. The short answer is yes, but it won't feature, of course, guys, the lead in this, Geralt, which means things may be different this time around. Developer CD Projekt Red has clearly stated that The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was the conclusion of his story, which is wrapped up so beautifully at the end of the base game and final DLC, Blood and Wine. So, number one, guys, like when you move on from a lead character in a video game, I gotta say that there's a lot of nerves. People get very nervous when you're moving away from a main character. We've seen it be successful, like in the state of, Gears of War. They moved on from Marcus Phoenix after, a few titles, and they moved on to his son, JD Phoenix. There was a lot of skepticism about that, but it worked out really well. And now it's moved again from JD over to Kate Diaz, and she's the main character in Gears 5. And so it's worked out for that franchise. On the flip side of that, you have a series like the Halo franchise where you've had all these different games with Master Chief, and then of course it changes in Halo 5, and there's a huge uproar about it. People did not like it at all. Master Chief was still there but was a side character, so on and so forth. So there's positives and negatives to this, and so I think when I look at The Witcher, I get it though. I mean, he had 3 games and his story is now finished, and so now it's time to move on, and I think that's the way that it should be. Another Witcher game is inevitable at this point, and we say this with confidence because CD Projekt Red has spoken a bit about the future of the series. So whatever this Witcher game ends up being, it probably wouldn't be called The Witcher 4, but we won't know otherwise until more details surface. As expected, this hasn't stopped people getting excited and speculating about what it could look like. So here's the thing. So CD Projekt Red, guys, they're certainly still talking about The Witcher and, that they want to still do things within this franchise. But I think that, we got to kind of pump the brakes on this because obviously they're working on Cyberpunk 2077. And whatever you think about Cyberpunk 2077, the fact of the matter is that this is a title that it could be absolutely massive for CD Projekt Red. And there's a chance that it's so big that they decide to put the Witcher plans completely to the wayside and continue working on Cyberpunk 2077 and even future Cyberpunk games moving forward. It's hard to say, so I think we got to pump the brakes on, a timeline as far as the Witcher. It really comes down to the success or the failure of Cyberpunk 2077. So don't expect anything too soon though, as developer CD Projekt Red is working hard on Cyberpunk 2077. However, the president of Project Red, Adam Kaczynski, has said this year that there's a relatively clear concept for the next Witcher game and that full production would begin immediately after Cyberpunk 2077 releases. So, I mean, obviously, guys, I think that CD Projekt Red, they've become a larger studio over time. They certainly could split their studio up, but I just feel that we still have to pump the brakes on it because I think a lot of it has to do with the success of Cyberpunk. If this is something that's absolutely massive, they're going to have even the team that starts working on the initial concepts for the next Witcher game, they're going to bring them back over because, I mean, think of, Fortnite and games of that nature where, Epic Games has everybody all hands on deck with Fortnite when that game was absolutely blowing up. So just think about that at the same time. Now, there's plenty to be excited about with the president of CD Projekt Red all but confirming that another Witcher game is planned. To add even more hype to this, in 2019, the forums of CD Projekt Red saw the confirmation by a moderator that the company is still planning on releasing another AAA game by 2021. Earlier rumors indicate that this would be an RPG title, but while this fits the bill, that doesn't give a whole lot of time for it to be the next Witcher game, considering how long Cyberpunk has been the focus. So as far as the strategy of the CD Projekt Capital Group for 2016 and 2021 is concerned, its plans to release the second AAA game by 2021 remain unchanged. We are currently focusing on the production and promotion of Cyberpunk 2077, so we do not want to comment on further projects. What I will say about that, though, guys, is don't expect the second AAA game by 2021, especially because of the pandemic going on in our world right now. Just overall, it's really shaken so many plans. It's shaken up everyone's plans, from video game development, to just entertainment as a whole. So, take it with a pinch of salt. I would say that the second AAA game is going to get delayed. If it's The Witcher, I kind of doubt it, but it might be, something, a completely new IP that CD Projekt Red has been working on. So it's more likely that a Witcher game is a few more years down the line, possibly 2023, if not later, and I do agree with that. Now, importantly, the success of Witcher 3 really put Project Red on the map. Prior to this, the previous Witcher games never had the same impact or reception that it had from the success of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Absolutely true. Now, president of CD Projekt Red said in an interview, the first 3 Witchers were by definition a trilogy, so we simply could not name the game The Witcher 4. This does not mean, of course, that we will leave the world of The Witcher, which is very exciting. The Witcher is one of two franchises on which to build the future activities of the company. Today, unfortunately, I cannot reveal anything more. Which makes sense, guys. They're working on Cyberpunk 2077. They want people to be focused on that game at this point. They want everyone who is a big fan of CD Projekt Red to be focused on Cyberpunk 2077 and nothing else. You'll be able to focus on those other things after Cyberpunk 2077 comes out, and then they'll probably feel a little bit better about talking about, the future. And things can always change, guys. Like I said, if Cyberpunk is an absolute massive hit, things could always kind of rattle those Witcher plans at the end of the day, unless Cyberpunk 2077 doesn't do as well as they are hoping. So the team at CD Projekt Red had put in over 10 years of time and resources into the Witcher games, culminating in the release of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt in May of 2015. So it stands to reason we wouldn't be hearing about another Witcher title so soon after it shipped. So at the moment, Projekt Red is in the run-up to the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, which is another huge game that has been years in the making. It stands to reason that the company isn't going to be focusing on anything else until Cyberpunk is finally out in the wild. Consider as well, Cyberpunk will have a similar DLC release style to The Witcher 3 with waves of free downloadable content and paid expansions, so the company's focus will remain on Cyberpunk for long after it releases. So, I mean, look, guys, as far as, who would be the next character to take over, that's really, I mean, there's so much, so many people talking about that and the rumblings, it's very speculative on who the next character would be the main character in The Witcher. But at the end of the day, here's my thought, guys. I feel that regardless of who it is, okay, I'm going to be okay with just getting kind of almost that fresh breath of new life into a franchise like The Witcher. Having new characters, new environments, new enemies you go up against, new weaponry, new all of those things. I am totally down to see changes and see what CD Projekt Red decides to do there. But like I said, I am hoping that we get the Witcher 4 or, something, whatever they decide to call it. They're talking about they're not going to call it The Witcher 4, but I would love to see another continuation of this franchise. And it sounds like we're going to get it. I just don't know if it's going to be as soon as some people are thinking we're going to get it. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. I'll be sure to give you guys more information as it comes out. Let me know, though, guys, in the comment section down below, what do you want to see in the new Witcher title, whether it's called Witcher 4 or something else? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more of the Witcher 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. The long-awaited continuation of the Metal Gear Solid franchise is one, guys, that I, for one, and I know many of you out there, would love to see a continuation. The difference, though, I think for many of us is that even though Konami very well and very likely will continue this franchise in one capacity or another, it doesn't sound like we will be seeing, Hideo Kojima, or will we? That's the big question, guys, for the day is, will we see Metal Gear Solid 6 at some point or another, and who's going to helm it? Is it going to be Hideo Kojima or someone else? So let's talk about it. So, guys, we've talked about Metal Gear Solid, the future of this franchise. We talked about the past, present. You guys can check out all that content here on the YouTube channel. But I think that Metal Gear Solid 6 is certainly a game that we want to see happen. I believe, the relationship between Kojima and Konami, that split very poorly. And I know Sony is trying to bring the two back together in a number of ways to try to get them to, kind of work together on a new Silent Hill game, or at least, finish what they started with Silent Hills, and even talks of doing Metal Gear Solid 6. So with that, guys, I think that Konami, regardless if you get Kojima or not, I believe that they are going to continue this franchise. Now, the last memory that we have in our minds of Metal Gear is Metal Gear Survive, which was pretty bad overall. I mean, the general reception, just the sales were just pretty bad all the way around, guys, and there's no really getting around it. Now, there were some who did enjoy it, but I think the vast majority of people did not enjoy that title. So many people are calling for Hideo Kojima to return. I'm one of those people. I would love to see him return at least one more time. Obviously he's, coming off of Death Stranding. I would love to see him work on Metal Gear Solid 6. I would personally rather see him work on Silent Hills or, finish that, because that was like pretty much the next project he was going to be working on with Konami before they split. So I would love to see Silent Hills, and then following that, maybe a very last Metal Gear Solid game that he could kind of pass the torch from, him to someone else. Like he kind of handpicks the next director and things of that nature, the next team to work on the future of Metal Gear. Because here's the thing, guys, Hideo is not going to work on every title, of this franchise moving forward. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So he wants to work on other things, that being like Death Stranding, maybe a Death Stranding 2, Silent Hills, who knows what else. There's just other things that he's going to be working on. So with that being said, I think that the sour taste in our mouth that we have from Metal Gear Survive, I would love to see, him kind of rewrite the ship and point it in the right direction, pass the torch on to someone else, and then they can carry on. And I don't think they might never be as good as the previous games, that being, like Phantom Pain and things of that nature, but they still very well might be good. Now, even if Hideo, here's the other thing, if Hideo doesn't want to be the creative director for, Metal Gear Solid 6, maybe he can be like an assistant or something of that nature, where he can be like an executive producer or something, where he's able to, kind of give his 2 cents and his kind of creative vision to help out the director, but it's not going to be as time consuming for him, like the day-to-day of Metal Gear Solid 6. So it really depends on if that relationship is mended between Konami and Kojima. That leads us to, will there be a Metal Gear Solid 6? I do think there will, guys. Regardless of whether that relationship is mended or not, I believe that Konami has every thought in their mind, at least, to continue this franchise. Because look, at the end of the day, Metal Gear is a pretty significant brand. I mean, it's not massive like Call of Duty or something, but it's still a pretty big brand that, Kojima really built. And so I think Konami, they would, it would be irresponsible almost to even to not continue this franchise. So I do believe that they will. Now, whether or not, if Kojima's not there, whether or not they decide, it's any good is yet to be seen. I don't see you getting much worse than Metal Gear Survive, though. So I feel like it would be all uphill from here. Look, guys, at the end of the day, I say this all the time. It takes one game in a franchise to, really take us into a dark place, like the dark ages of an IP or of a franchise. But then all it takes is one game to bring you right back to where you kind of left off, or where you were hitting those peaks, so to speak. So I believe that Metal Gear Survive was kind of the first, game for Konami, by themselves without Hideo Kojima at the helm to make a game, and we saw what happened, right? But if you give them the benefit of the doubt, usually it takes a developer a couple of games to get it right? When you lose people or whatever the case might be. Look at Halo. Obviously from Bungie to 343 Industries, 343, they struggled at first, and now they're trying to kind of rewrite their ship with Halo Infinite. Look at Gears of War. It went from Epic Games to the Coalition, and there was definitely some shakiness there at first, but at the end of the day, now they're moving in a great direction. So give Konami some time. Do I think that's going to be as good, like they'll be able to make a game as good as what Hideo Kojima did with, Metal Gear Solid 5, like the Phantom Pain and such? Probably not. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think they could still make a solid story. They could create a full package for us with multiplayer, co-op modes, and a full-blown campaign that brings us back over and over again. I just think, guys, that there's definitely a possibility. And I think Konami would be irresponsible for them not to continue this franchise moving forward. So with that, guys, do I think we'll see it? Yes, I think we're going to get a Metal Gear Solid 6 at some point or another. When is a whole nother thing. I'm hoping it's with Kojima at the helm, but there's a high likelihood that it won't be him there. And it's going to be somebody else. And, I just hope that they learned from their mistakes with Metal Gear Survive. They learned what they did right, which wasn't much. They learned what they did wrong, which was a lot. And they now learn what they can do different moving forward to kind of move this, series back on an upward trend. But with that, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you think we'll get a Metal Gear Solid 6? Or do you think the only way we would get it is if Hideo Kojima himself is there? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Metal Gear Solid 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of The 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.